Broadcasting from down on the bayou, it's the Average Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast, powered by Lake Area Media, LLC. And now your hosts, David Boston and Patrick Fry.
Welcome to the AMP Pro Wrestling Podcast, episode number 114. My name is David Boston. He is Patrick Fry. Feels good to be back in the saddle, Patrick.
Yes, it does, Mikey O, or David Boston, as I should say. Once again, I'm still not used to this new name you giving yourself, but your name is indeed David Boston. So, yeah, it's good to be back in the saddle. Good to be back talking some pro wrestling. A lot of things to talk about. We got plenty of things to dive into today, so we won't waste too much more time, but we do got a little sponsor we do got to talk about here.
Yeah, man, it's our Amazon affiliate program. Everybody shops Amazon, so it is extremely easy to help your boys out, and it costs you nothing. So you're doing some early Christmas shopping, maybe you're finding some Halloween decorations or Thanksgiving decorations. It is exactly what you need. Oh my God, Patrick. Here we go. Pulling the Mikey O. tinyurl.com/Amazon AMP. It is really easy. It's easy to remember, and it helps your boy out. And Patrick, tell them how they can lock that into their browser.
All you got to do is go to tinyurl.com/Amazon AMP, and what you'll do is once you put in that particular URL address, all you got to do is bookmark it. Just bookmark it to your bookmarks tab. I got 100,000 bookmarks, including the tinyurl.com/Amazon AMP. And once you bookmark it, all you got to do is hit that bookmark. It takes you directly to, you can even name it just Amazon. So that way you know what it is. You name it Amazon. All you got to do is click on it. And now you don't have to type in the tinyurl.com/Amazon AMP anymore. All you got to do is click that bookmark. Takes you straight to Amazon, and you can shop like normal as if you never did all that. So it doesn't cost you any extra. It just helps you boys out a little bit, sends a little commission our way, and we use that to help improve the podcast in any way we can.
Marcus in the live chat.
Shout out to Marcus. I didn't see him pop up on our live chat yet here, but
yeah, I'm on YouTube. He said, "Hey."
Well, shout out to Marcus in the live chat. Hopefully, it pops up here on the actual live stream video. But shout out to Marcus, our number one loyal listener when we go live, mostly on Thursdays. But as of late, we've been having to do a little switcheroo sometimes on Wednesdays, sometimes on Tuesdays, and hopefully after football season's over, we'll be back to Thursdays for the time being.
That's not going to stop anytime soon, Patrick. Basketball season's all wonky too.
Yeah, you're right about that. I did think about that as I was saying it. So definitely, basketball season will. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot of Thursday games we'll have to take care of at our real jobs, but. Certainly, we're going to do everything in our power to bring you the podcast at least once a week. It may be Tuesdays, it may be Wednesdays, it could be Mondays, and it might be Thursdays. You'll just have to stay tuned to our social media pages to keep track of that.
Marcus, how does my mic sound? This is the first time I ever did this setup. I'll look for it in the chat. What we got on this episode 114, Patrick?
All right, well, for today's episode number 114 of the AMP Wrestling Podcast for Thursday, October the 7th, 2021. We're going to talk about the WWE Draft that has now come and gone. We'll recap that. Also coming up, the WWE King of the Ring and Queen's Crown tournaments. Excited about that. Now they have a women's version of it as well, so that's going to be some exciting stuff. Last night on Dynamite, Hangman returned to AEW. That was a really good time watching that last night. We'll talk about that. Also, last night, a big announcement was made. There's a new AEW title in the women's division. We'll talk about that. Also, a little bit of controversy from Bully Ray and Mark Henry. Apparently, they made some comments about bullying, and, well, apparently it was some controversial comments. We'll talk about that. And also, there's going to be a relaunch of Women of Wrestling, and it's going to feature a couple of prominent names in the wrestling world. We'll talk about that as well. We also have some rumor mill stuff about the AEW EVPs, about the Street Profits, Braun Strowman, WWE and Profanity, and also some plans for Austin Theory. So all of that stuff is all coming up here on episode number 114 of the AMP Wrestling Podcast for Thursday, October the 7th, 2021.
Find us on your favorite platform, whether it's social media, video, we're all there. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Just search at. He said mine sounds off. At AMP Wrestling Podcast.
That sounds fine to me. So, but we roll with the punches. So we're gonna keep it on track. You sound good to me. So, however it's coming across on the other end. We'll just have to wait and see in post-production, I suppose. But everything seems like it's going okay on my end. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is we're going to recap the WWE draft that happened last Friday and also on Monday Night Raw as well. Obviously, it's the yearly thing that WWE likes to do. They like to shake things up, as Vince once said when the WWE draft first came around. And, boy, I tell you what, there's been a lot of conversation as to who won the draft. Was it SmackDown or was it Monday Night Raw? My initial reaction to it is that I think Monday Night Raw got the better end of the deal. They did get a couple of, they got some big names from SmackDown that are now coming to Raw. Big E, the WWE champion. You also have the man, Becky Lynch, who is the current SmackDown Women's Champion, although she's going to be defending that in a triple threat match at Crown Jewel here in a couple of weeks, as a matter of fact. 2 weeks from today is Crown Jewel over in Saudi Arabia. But Becky Lynch is now going over to Raw, and one of the women she's going to be defending against, Bianca Belair, is also going to Raw. So that right there, at least in my opinion, kind of tells you, hey, she's going to drop this to Sasha Banks in that triple threat match, because it is Becky, Bianca, and Sasha in a triple threat match for the SmackDown Women's title in just a couple of weeks. A couple of other names I saw, it looks like the Street Profits are now going over to Monday Night Raw. I think that's a big get for Monday Night Raw. Obviously, Fox has kind of had the, I guess the bigger, I don't want to say the bigger names, but certainly being on Fox, I want to say WWE definitely favored SmackDown a little bit in terms of getting the more popular superstars onto Friday Night SmackDown. But now it appears that some of these people are making their way back over to Monday Night Raw. Finn Balor is another one. Edge, the Rated R superstar, coming from SmackDown over to Monday Night Raw as well. I'm looking at the list right now. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio, they're coming over to Monday Night Raw. So some big names, in my opinion, that are coming over from SmackDown to Monday Night Raw that are, in my opinion, going to make Raw just a little bit better, because Raw certainly needs that shot in the arm right now. But if you look at SmackDown, SmackDown got, they kept Roman Reigns. They got Charlotte Flair, who is the Raw Women's Champion, and I'll be curious to see how they get that off of Charlotte Flair, because obviously, the Raw Women's Champion on SmackDown, that makes no sense. Sasha Banks will stay on SmackDown as well. Trying to look for some names here that are going from Raw to SmackDown. I'm looking through the list right now as we speak. It looks like Drew McIntyre. He was on Raw. I believe he looks like he's going to He is going to SmackDown now, or he will be on SmackDown. Another guy, Humberto Carrillo, is going over to SmackDown, although they haven't used him much on Raw, it seems, as of late, but he's going to be heading over there. Also, the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, they're now jumping from Raw to SmackDown. It seems like they can't keep all three members of the New Day together, but some people are okay with that, since Big E is now the WWE champion, and they're trying to focus on him being a singles competitor. Sheamus is going over to SmackDown. I believe he's been hanging out on Raw. He may not have been. Ricochet's going over to SmackDown. Jeff Hardy's going over to SmackDown. So some names there going over to SmackDown, but in my opinion, David, I think Raw won the draft. It seems like just they got, in terms of the superstars that swapped brands, it seems like Raw got the better end of the deal, in my opinion.
It sounds like the old saying goes, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I would imagine they've been hearing a lot from USA executives lately about how much Raw sucks and how they need to do something about it, and they finally did.
Yeah, it would appear that way. So I'm curious to see. Now, this doesn't go into effect until after Crown Jewel, but I mean, they're WWE. They're going to have people going back and forth on these brands probably for the next couple of weeks. But they don't take effect until October 22nd. So that Friday night SmackDown, the day after Crown Jewel, is when these rosters will officially go into effect. And like I said a while ago, Monday Night Raw definitely needs that that little bit of that firepower, because they've been struggling in the ratings. Obviously, SmackDown is not doing much better than Monday Night Raw, but they're obviously doing better, and they're getting more eyes on the product because they're on Fox. I mean, I could pop up a free antenna on my TV and catch Fox every day and watch SmackDown every Friday night without even paying for cable. So obviously more eyes are going to be on the product of SmackDown, but someone made a comment about SmackDown and how the depth at obviously Roman has been the Universal Champion now for a year and running, and another name that actually Roman's going to be defending the Universal title against is Brock Lesnar. And now Brock Lesnar came out and said he's a free agent, so he can hop on SmackDown or Raw or whatever brand he wants. Heck, he might even show up to NXT, although I don't think that's going to happen. But he can.
Bro, can you imagine a Brock Lesnar and Braun Breaker match?
I would certainly be very interested in seeing that.
Oh my God.
But I don't think they're ready to pull the trigger on that just yet. Although Braun Breaker, it seems like they may be getting ready to pull the trigger on him and put the NXT title on him. Possibly, it seems like him and Tommaso Ciampa are gonna battle it out for the NXT Championship. I think maybe at Halloween Havoc coming up, which is going to be NXT's little, I say little, their big show that they're going to be doing coming up here sometime later this month. But going back to SmackDown, I mean, I'm looking at the list of people. You got Cesaro in there. He's going to stay on SmackDown. Drew McIntyre's there. I think Drew's going to be a guy that'll definitely challenge Roman coming up here. But beyond Drew, I'm looking at Kofi Kingston, obviously a former champion. Jinder Mahal, a former champion, but let's not go there. Jeff Hardy's a former champion, but these are not guys that, just, and Sheamus is maybe another one, but I mean, let's be honest, that's not a very deep list of big names, at least not right now. I mean, Jeff Hardy is obviously a big name. Jinder Mahal, not so much. Kofi Kingston's a big name, but, Kofi Kingston versus Roman Reigns, does it really? It just doesn't seem legitimate to me. So, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I just think Raw got the better end of the deal here, because I think last go around SmackDown got the better end of the deal. So now they're going to try and return that favor to Raw, and hopefully get some more eyes on Monday Night Raw by putting maybe a little more firepower on the Raw brand.
I wonder what the record is for the longest reign as champion, because it seems like Roman's safe for at least another year having this belt.
Yeah, and I tell you what, it's I don't think I caught what you fully said there. I thought I caught what you said, but I don't think I did. I was fixing something. Well, I wasn't fixing anything. I was catching something over here.
I was wondering. I wonder how long is the longest championship reign in WWE history, because the way it looks, Roman may have this for a whole nother 365 days.
Well, I mean, if you want to go back a long, long time, obviously Bruno Sammartino is, I think he had it for like 2,000 days or something like that. I mean, I don't think Roman's going to hold the belt for that long. But if you want to talk about the modern era, and I'm using air quotes because that's a term they use in the modern era, I think Brock has the longest reign he had the Universal title for like, I think 500 days or something like that, maybe. So Brock, if you're talking about the modern era, if you want to eliminate, Bruno Sammartino, I think Brock said like just over 500 days. It might be like 503 maybe. I could be wrong, but I think the number is somewhere around there. So Roman right now, I believe, is probably at around like 400 maybe, or close to 400. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I don't know. Maybe maybe they do try to have Roman, beat Brock's record, but to beat Brock's record, he's actually gonna have to beat Brock here in a couple of weeks. So I don't know. If he can beat Brock here in a couple of weeks and retain that title, it's a very legitimate chance that Roman's gonna break Brock's title in terms of longest world title reign here in WWE.
Speaking of long title reigns, I was watching MLW last night, and Jacob Fatu has held the MLW Heavyweight Championship belt for 2 years, a little bit longer than 2 years. And tonight in Philadelphia at the old ECW Bingo Hall, the 2300 Arena, he's facing Alexander Hammerstone, which MLW fans have wanted that for 2 years.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like Jacob Fatu's contract is up, and they may throw that strap on Hammerstone. I wonder if Jacob Fatu is going to get recruited by WWE and bring him into the bloodline. That would be dope.
Yeah, that would be a very interesting twist to that as well. Although I don't know, I mean, WWE obviously trying to bring in some new guys, and obviously with the rebranding of NXT. I don't know. It would definitely be an interesting twist to add another guy to the bloodline, although I think the bloodline right now, and WWE's never, as of late, they haven't really been a type of company to really have more than 3 people in a faction. They don't want to add too much, I guess, there, but because it seems like a lot of the factions have all come in threes, one way or the other. So, and you got 3 right now with the bloodline. So it would be interesting, although I think a guy like Jacob Fatu, who's not very well known amongst the mainstream WWE fans, I feel like he would go through NXT first, certainly.
Oh, that'd be a travesty. That dude's ready. He is so good.
All right, let's you got anything else on the draft?
No, I was trying to fix the mic and I lost audio. Did the Usos stay in SmackDown?
Yeah, the Usos are still on SmackDown. I didn't even mention them. I was trying to kind of focus on the ones that went over for, like that crossed brands, I should say. But no, the Jimmy and Jey Uso are both still on SmackDown. So the bloodline is still intact on the blue brand. All right, let's talk about now. We got the King of the Ring tournament and the Queen's Crown tournament. Obviously, WWE in recent years, we had the first women's Hell in a Cell match. We had the first women's Royal Rumble. We had the first women's first all-women's pay-per-view. And now we're going to have the first women's version of the King of the Ring tournament. I wish they'd call it the Queen of the Ring, but they're calling it the Queen's Crown tournament. And they're going to be beginning, I believe, this Friday. I don't think they've released an entire bracket yet, but they did announce 2 matches for SmackDown this coming Friday. So the first round match for the Queen's Crown tournament is going to be Liv Morgan versus Carmella. A lot of fans online have definitely been clamoring. Yeah, exactly. A lot of fans online have really been clamoring for Liv Morgan to win this tournament because I think she's someone the fans are really getting behind. She hasn't had that push yet. Carmella obviously has already won the SmackDown Women's title a couple of times, so it's a good spot for Liv Morgan to possibly win not just win the match here on Friday, but win this tournament and really propel her into the next level. Now, I don't know who the other women are in this tournament, so I don't want to go out on a limb and say, yeah, this is definitely going to be Liv Morgan's tournament that she should win, because there may be another woman in there that I see that I may think should win it more. But right now, I'm also on that Liv Morgan train until someone gives me another reason why someone else should win it.
Hey, Marcus Talbot said that Brock was at 503 in his title reign, and Roman is currently at 402 plus.
All right, so we got about 100 days left for Roman, which by my calculations is about three and a half months, something like that. So basically, he'd have to hold it till about the Royal Rumble to break it around that time, I would say. Just a random guess. But you obviously have your Brock match coming up. At Survivor Series, he's probably not going to defend it because they always do champion versus champion on Survivor Series, so he's not going to defend it there. And then after that, I just don't see him dropping it to anyone else. Maybe, I mean, Drew is the only legitimate person I could see him dropping it to based on the new rosters after the draft. But, you know, it would appear if he gets through Brock, he could very well break that record.
Well, maybe since they're sending all their superstars over to Raw, they're going to throw Fox a bone and drop the belt on a SmackDown.
You never know. Hey, at this point, WWE, you just never know because I feel like they are, they're trying to shake things up, trying to make a splash and and get into the headlines with all this AEW talk as of late. So you just never know. But these tournaments here, I'm very curious to see how they do these tournaments. And I remember when they did that Best in the World tournament, that was just a joke, but. Hopefully they legitimize these two tournaments coming up with the Queen's Crown and the King of the Ring tournaments. And speaking of the King of the Ring tournaments, the first match on Friday for the men is going to be Rey Mysterio versus Sami Zayn. So I feel like Rey should win that match, but I could see Sami going over if they don't have if they don't plan on having Rey win the whole tournament. So, but that's the only two matches they've announced so far for these two tournaments, so I don't know why they haven't put out like a whole bracket yet. Maybe we'll see one on Friday, but I kind of wish they'd put out a bracket first so we can kind of preview the whole thing. But we'll certainly see how these two tournaments develop here in the coming weeks, because I think they're going to have the championship of these tournaments at Crown Jewel, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong, but I think that's when they're going to have the championship. Well, I say championship, the finals of these two tournaments at Crown Jewel in a couple of weeks.
Well, maybe they're waiting on throwing that bracket out because they're going to surprise us with a Braun Strowman return. More on that at Rumor Mill at the end of the show.
All right, a little tease there coming up later on in the show. But yeah, looking forward to for these two tournaments and see how they turn out for WWE. All right, let's switch gears now. Let's move on over to AEW. Yeah, apparently Marcus's chats are not showing up in the live chat, so I'm working on trying to see if I can get that situated here. But so last night, AEW, the anniversary show, 2-year anniversary since Dynamite made its debut on TNT back on October 2nd, 2019. Big show last night. The main event was the Casino Ladder match where the winner will receive a world title shot against Kenny Omega. And they had, I think, 6 or 7 guys, maybe. I don't know if it was 6 or 7 guys in the ladder match. But the last guy was the Joker. And it turns out it was the returning Hangman Adam Page. He came out to a great pop last night. He ultimately went on to win the match, and now he's in line to get a title shot against Kenny Omega. There were rumors that obviously that was going to be the title match at All Out, but it ended up being Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage, and there was stories that came out how Adam Page had requested time off. Tony Khan gave him the time off, and I learned it last night during his they did an interview with Hangman Page because. I kind of like how they're doing this. The last couple of weeks was the first 2 weeks of Roads to the Top, which is Cody and Brandy Rhodes' new little reality show that they're doing on TNT. And during the first commercial break of the show, they go back live, or I don't know if it's live or recorded, but Tony Schiavone, last week after Sammy Guevara won the TNT championship, they had a little interview with him, a little celebration with him, kind of during the break of Roads to the Top and whatnot. And then this week they interviewed Hangman Adam Page after he won the Casino Ladder match, and he actually said, I don't even know that this was made public or not, but apparently him and his wife, I guess he's married, they had a baby, so that's why he took some time off. So Hangman Adam Page is now a father. So congrats to the Hangman, but he's now back, and he has an AEW World Title shot against his former tag team partner Kenny Omega. And I know Cruz and Brink, this is exactly how they were hoping things were going to turn out, at least so far, because I think a lot of people firmly believe that Hangman Adam Page ultimately is going to be the guy that takes the belt off of Kenny Omega.
I need to say this before I forget it, and it's from a comment that you made earlier about Adam Cole, baby.
Yeah.
I got this bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. He's going to get Britt Baker pregnant. And we're gonna lose the greatness that is Britt Baker for 9 months.
Well, I mean, that is always a possibility, certainly.
What do you think he was doing on said time off?
Who, Adam? Well, we talking about Adam Page or Adam Cole here?
Oh, I thought you said Adam Cole needed some time off.
No, I was talking about Adam Page because he came back last night. So he had requested time off. That's why he was gone for the last couple of months, because he had requested time off because he just had a baby. So,
well, my statement still stands true, because now he's traveling with Britt. Dadgummit.
Yeah, hopefully Adam Cole baby is a little smarter than old Seth Rollins was, and maybe they take all the precautionary steps to prevent Dr. Britt Baker from getting pregnant, because she's having one heck of a run right now as the AEW Women's World Champion. But Hangman's back. Everyone was excited to see him. I think everyone's going to be ecstatic to see him and Kenny Omega go one-on-one. And, boy, I tell you what, if Hangman takes that belt off of Kenny, boy, it's going to be one heck of a night. And I would think that match could happen at Full Gear, which we're about a little over a month away from. So I feel like that could be our main event for AEW Full Gear coming up next month. Any thoughts on that, David?
Yeah, it's going to be a great match. I mean, I don't see Hangman taking it off of Kenny right now. I mean, they got to ride this whole Kenny and the Elite thing, because it's still freaking amazing.
Yeah, they really are doing a good job. Now with the addition of Adam Cole, obviously that's made it even more intriguing. A bit of a surprise, because obviously he was wrestling for WWE a month and a half ago. And then 2 or 3 weeks later he shows up in AEW. So that right there just kind of made the Elite storyline just a little bit more intriguing. But the fact that Hangman Adam Page is back, I mean, I think folks really already are intrigued about the possibility of Hangman taking the belt off of Kenny Omega, because that story has already written itself with the history those two have had already just in AEW when they were tag team and they split up, and just everything that's going on with them. So I'm very curious to see how they build this match, and certainly what the turnout is going to be for that match.
Yeah, one day I would love to see the strap around him. I've always said that. I mean, he's the face of a company. Stop this drunk gimmick. Start building him up as a credible human being, because he's a good-looking dude. He's great in the ring. He's extremely agile for his size. I mean, this is a guy that looks like a champion. Yeah,
he really has the full package. And, the whole drunk gimmick thing, I think the fans like that. And I think they can still do a thing, because obviously, if you remember, there was a wrestler by the name of Stone Cold Steve Austin who one of his big things was drinking beer. So I think they can certainly get away with, maybe not him, acting drunk or whatever the case may be, because here's the thing about Hangman. He probably drinks a lot more hard liquor, at least on camera, than old Stone Cold did. Stone Cold was always just a beer guy, but even last night after the ladder match was over, Hangman was downing a beer on top of the ladder. So I think the fans enjoy it and whatnot. As long as he's not really drunk, hey, it's all in good fun as far as I'm concerned. So I'm all for it. But Hangman's back. I'm excited about it. I know a lot of fans are excited about it as well, and a lot of fans are looking forward to this Kenny Omega Hangman feud, and ultimately the match between the two, which I expect will probably happen at Full Gear next month.
See, I think to protect Kenny's reign as champion and for another reign as champion, I think somebody like CM Punk or Bryan Danielson has to take it off of him. Because then you look at that and you go, oh, well, yeah, it's CM Punk or Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe Bryan Danielson would be that guy ultimately, and it's interesting now that Bryan Danielson's come in, kind of had his match with Omega, took it to a draw, and now it seems like maybe they're gonna take Kenny away from Bryan Danielson, and maybe Bryan Danielson does some other things. I don't know. We'd love to see him, maybe Adam Cole Bebe go at it, but it seems like Adam Cole Bebe and Jungle Boy is gonna have a few themselves. That's the thing. There's so many different moving parts here right now. It's going to be very interesting to see how they book this moving forward. But obviously, the one thing we do know is Hangman has a shot at the AEW World Championship. Currently, the AEW World Champion is Kenny Omega, and anybody who's been following AEW for the past 2+ years knows the history between those two guys. So it's going to be very interesting.
Oh, speaking of AEW, did you see who made his not TNA Impact debut the other day?
I did not.
Chris Daniels is back. Everybody thought he retired, but he showed up the other day when Christian was getting beat down.
Yeah, the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, who made his name in TNA back in the mid-2000s, is back. That was a pretty cool thing. I did see that now that you mention it, but yeah, definitely a really cool thing there to see Christopher Daniels, the Fallen Angel, kind of go back to his old stomping grounds and put in some work there. So good stuff with the Impact and Christopher Daniels.
I wonder if that's his last go round, they're going to put the strap on him for a run.
I don't know about the strap. Last go round could definitely be, but whether or not he gets the strap on him, I don't know. But definitely something to watch for if you like Impact. All right, let's move on over now to the new AEW Women's title. It's there was a big announcement that Tony Khan was teasing last night, and it turns out the big announcement was a new championship in AEW, and of course, Dynamite's going to be going over to TBS in early 2022. Rampage will stay on TNT. So they decided that they have the TNT championship. So now they decided to add the TBS championship, which will be the women's. It will be a title in the women's division, and they unveiled the title last night. I think they're going to have a tournament to determine the champion. I don't know exactly when that's going to start, but it's basically an exact replica of the TNT belt, except there's a TBS logo, and the little band where it says champion is like a baby blue kind of color. So it's not red like the TNT one, but it's almost the same thing. And my first thought when they unveiled it is that it's a much bigger belt than the AEW Women's World Championship. So I was kind of like, well, I don't know how I feel about that, but the AEW Women's World Championship has a very unique look to it, so maybe they can get away with it there, but I like the belt. I was just kind of like, it's bigger than it looks like if you put those two belts side by side, in my opinion, it almost, the fact that it's a bigger belt almost makes you think on the surface it might be a bigger deal than the AEW Women's World Championship, but obviously that's not the case.
Marcus said in the YouTube chat, yes, the hose. I mean, the TBS title.
Yeah, I'm very, and that's good that they have that second championship for the women's division, because obviously they're starting to get a lot of women coming in now. You got obviously Ruby Soho just came in.
If they put this belt on Ruby Soho, somebody please shoot me in my face. This needs to go to Thunder Rosa, hands down.
Well, I was about to say, they've been signing new women like Thunder Rosa, also Serena Deeb. They recently signed as well. Then you got Jade Cargill, which they're trying to figure out what to do with Jade Cargill. So Ty Conti is there as well, and a Jay. You got some names there that could easily get lost in the shuffle of the women's division, but now you got this second belt, so now you can get more women involved, and obviously you got a third hour of cable television on Friday nights. So I'm very excited about having this new championship in AEW, especially in the women's division, because it's nice to see them get a second championship belt.
Yeah, I thought they would have made it look a little bit more feminine. I mean, it was light blue. I thought they would have made like that little banner down at the bottom, maybe, I don't know, purple or pink or something. It looks like a guy's belt.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a much, it's an exact replica of the TNT Championship, which is defended in the men's division, and it looks much bigger than the AEW Women's World Championship. So it was kind of like, well, it does look like a men's belt, but of course in WWE, I mean, the women's belts look exactly like the men's belts now too. So that's nothing new, I guess, in professional wrestling. But
if Layla Hirsch ever wins it, we'd just see the belt walking down the aisle. We wouldn't see her.
Yeah, I know she's belt's gonna definitely be a little big on her. But and she's another one. I'm glad you brought her up. She's another one too. She's kind of an up and coming star in AEW, and she could definitely be in the mix for this TBS championship. So I'm very curious to see the tournament for this, the bracket they put out, and how and who they give it to. Obviously, is right now I think the early favorite will be Jade Cargill because it's Jade Cargill. That's the next behind Britt Baker. In my opinion, that's the biggest up and coming star that they have in the women's division that they're really trying to protect. And obviously, you have a good thing going with Dr. Britt Baker as the AEW Women's World Champion. So you don't necessarily want to have her give up that title to Jade Cargill yet, but at the same time, you got to continue to build Jade Cargill and make her look strong. And what better way to make her look strong than to give her this TBS championship after this tournament? So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they book this tournament and who ends up winning. But if I was a gambling man, which I am, I would say if I had to put money on it right now, I'd put it on Jade Cargill to win the TBS championship. But I want to see the bracket. I want to see who's in the tournament, and then I can definitely I'll be able to see things a little bit clearer.
Well, if you put money on that, I can tell you right now, you would lose it, dude, because for some reason they're so high on suck ass Ruby Soho, she's going to get the belt, hands down. I mean, right when she came in, they threw her into the title mix, beating Thunder Rosa at the very last second. I was like, you got to be kidding me, bro.
I know, and I know they're high on Ruby Soho, and the fans like Ruby Soho. And I could see her making a run in this tournament. I'm assuming she's going to be in it, but I just don't see a scenario where if she goes up against a Jade Cargill that they're going to put Ruby Soho over Jade Cargill. I just don't see it.
They'll make her throw 3 slow-ass punches, and then it's over.
If you say so, but like I said, I'm still right now. My bet is on Jade Cargill to win to become the first TBS Women's Champion in AEW. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it for now. But I reserve the right to change my pick. All right, let's move on over now to Bully Ray and Mark Henry. Apparently, they made some comments on. Well, this is what I read on Reddit. So, on this week's Master Class, both Mark Henry and Bully Ray go on a lengthy rant in which they defend the actions of people like JBL and Bully himself taking advantage of other wrestlers in the ring / beating them up for perceived lack of respect or other such bullshit. It really has to almost be heard to be believed. At one point, Bully even boasts about slapping one La Resistance as hard as he could across the face backstage after that wrestler complained about how rough he was in the ring with him and that he was green and not used to it. Henry went on to say that any wrestler who goes to an agent or the office about abuse is weak and doesn't deserve to be in the business, and goes on to call today's wrestlers soft-ass entertainers, and that the business won't ever get back to the glory days or whatever until that kind of behavior comes back. So a lot of fans are not very, I don't know, they're not real. So basically, it seems like they're defending bullying / shooting on guys, I guess, in the ring. And, I mean, I don't know what to think of this. I mean, obviously, the way things were done in the old school days of wrestling are much different than the way they're done now. I mean, to me, if you got a problem with someone, don't take it out on them in the ring. You know, go backstage and solve it there. You know, and I mean, obviously, it seems like some of that was done here, where Bully apparently slapped one of the La Resistance guys backstage. But you know, whenever you're in that ring, you know, you gotta protect each other and whatnot. But like I said, any personal vendettas you got with somebody, you know, face it man to man backstage. If you want to go fight in the parking lot, that's fine. But you know, in the ring, you know, you gotta be professional. You gotta protect yourself, protect your opponent, and do what's best for the show. But I don't know. This is I don't even really know what to think about these comments, because these are two guys that I really enjoy listening to and really enjoy their opinions on things in the wrestling world. And I do enjoy listening to Busted Open from time to time on Sirius XM, but it just I don't know what they're trying to do here with these comments. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of take exception to that as well, because, you know, everybody should be given a safe work environment. I mean, I get that your work environment is totally different than somebody working in a cubicle, but at the same time, somebody shouldn't have to fear for their safety, you know, if they do something wrong or if they're perceived as weak. You know, obviously everybody who steps in that ring is a tough dude. That's a tough business. Like, I can't believe that some of these guys are still able to walk after they do it for 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. But, you know, nobody deserves to get slapped in the face. Nobody deserves to get bullied or get their, you know, bag pooped on, or, you know, all these other ribs that you hear of. Like, and obviously it was kind of different when they were there, but I can see it like in the 80s and the 70s and back, because you had to maintain kayfabe. You had to maintain that you were a shooter and that, you know, you could take on any comers. You're a wrestler. You're a tough guy. You're bigger than human. But I mean, these days, thanks to Vince McMahon, we know it's all a work. So, I mean, you don't have to play Mr. Tough Guy all the time. Like, go backstage, give people a safe work environment, make your money, and then go home.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. But you know, I think they're getting a lot of backlash from those comments. So, I mean, obviously, neither one of them really. I mean, well, Mark works for AEW, so you got a lot of up and coming guys there. So I'll be curious to see if Tony Khan's like, "Hey, Mark, what's up with this?" You know, I don't want to. That's not the kind of environment that I'm pushing here. So I wonder if, you know, they're gonna reprimand Mark Henry or do something. I mean, he ain't doing much in AEW. I mean, he was doing some commentary, but I think he might still be doing commentary for Rampage a little bit. But we'll see if they decide to reprimand him or what they do with him. Bully Ray, I don't think he's really working for anybody right now, so I don't think he has to necessarily worry about a job. So if anything, he's doing his job on his radio show, saying things and getting people talking about it, so whether it's negative or positive. So yeah, interesting comments there. I don't really have much else to add to it, but it was definitely it seemed like a hot topic to talk about.
Yeah, and you know, obviously Bully Ray's still trying to stay in the news. You know, his career is far past him, and obviously he still wants people to know he's still around. He's still doing things in the industry. So, I mean, just like a YouTube clickbait title, that's kind of like what it was. He's just throwing that out there to get the viral news, get the tweets, get the oh my God, did you hear what Bully Ray said?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, if he did do that back in the day, that's inexcusable. I mean, especially, you know, imagine what he did in ECW. You know, that culture over there.
Oh yeah.
Imagine if he slapped people in the face in WWE, imagine what he did to people when he was booking over in ECW.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, we all know what the culture was like in ECW, so you can about imagine what it was like back in the day, just anywhere, really, because that was the culture of professional wrestling backstage back in the day, and obviously it's come a long way. It's changed a lot over the years, but you know, guys like that, they're not in locker. You know, they're not in the locker room anymore. So, it's luckily they're not. I don't suspect that things like that are still happening in professional wrestling, at least not to the extent that it was probably happening back then. I mean, it may still happen from time to time, but certainly not to the degree that it was happening back then.
Yeah, and I mean, in this day and age, obviously some of these dudes are coming out and saying that, like The Undertaker said that a while back. And I think maybe even Jim Ross may have said something about it too. But at the same time, you're not going to be able to, what's the word that I'm looking at here, recruit some of this bigger talent if all they hear about is being bullied in the back and all these like crazy ribs being put on them.
Yeah.
They're going to go to AEW.
Uh-huh. You're right.
So, I mean, it's just good for business to have a good working environment.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You got to have a good morale in the locker room, which I do believe like places like AEW has. And I think, a place that like WWE does have from time to, maybe not as much as AEW, but certainly, I mean, based on what, the kind of morale that Bully Ray and Mark Henry were talking about, certainly the morale in the locker room in WWE nowadays has got to be much better than that. It was just, I think it was, I don't know, just some bad comments from those two guys. And like I said, it sucks that they had to go that route because two guys I admire their opinions on things involving wrestling. So it's, we'll see what comes out of it, but definitely some not some good comments from those two guys. All right, let's move on now to the Women of Wrestling relaunch. It was announced yesterday. There was actually a press conference to announce the relaunch of the Women of Wrestling promotion, and former WWE star AJ Lee was at the press conference, and she's going to actually be an executive producer for the brand, and also former Impact Wrestling Women's Champion. Also, I think she was the Impact Champion as well. Tessa Blanchard was also shown in the trailer for the Women of Wrestling's return. Women of Wrestling, they've signed a deal with Viacom to bring new episodes of the series to the CBS affiliates later this year. Women of Wrestling's Jeannie Buss gave a statement saying, "Wrestling's presentation of women has long been very important to me, and we are now presenting the epitome in sports entertainment that will highlight the athleticism of these superstars as we reintroduce WOW. Our partnerships with the entire Viacom CBS Global Distribution Group family allow us to continue our mission, providing wrestling fans and WOW superheroes what they have all deserved, a global platform for a dedicated women's wrestling league." So how about that? And then also just saw an article here. Let's see if I can find it again. I don't know if I can find it, but apparently they came out with... Go ahead.
While you're looking for it, oh my God, if they got Jeannie Buss money, they're going to pay these girls really well, I would imagine.
I'm sure, yeah. I mean, obviously, I know AJ Lee didn't do this for cheap, that's for sure.
No.
And I know Tessa Blanchard ain't doing it for cheap either.
And the balls to bring back Tessa Blanchard when AEW and WWE won't even touch her with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah,
I wonder how that's going to work in the back room.
Well, see now there's already a little bit of backlash that they're getting here because obviously we just got off the subject of bullying, and obviously that is some accusations that was made towards Tessa Blanchard along with some racism as well. And apparently the Women of Wrestling promotion, they announced or they released a Tessa Blanchard T-shirt that has the term nuclear written on it. And so a lot of fans, they tweeted this out, and the tweet ended up being ratioed, which is what they call it, with more quote retweets than likes, with fans bringing up the past accusations made towards Tessa Blanchard of bullying and racism. So they already get a little bit of backlash. Obviously, anybody that was going to touch Tessa Blanchard might get a little bit of backlash, but we'll see how that plays out. But certainly it's a big get for women of wrestling to get a woman like Tessa Blanchard, who's arguably one of the most polarizing women wrestlers on the planet right now.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It can be great because obviously you're getting retweeted like crazy, and in the wrestling community, you're getting talked about big time. So people are finding out that you're back and you're back on CBS, and they're going to know exactly when to tune in to see what's going on. But at the same time, man, it may bring a lot of wrestlers dropping out from your organization or just low ratings because people don't want to support it. But I'll tell you this, Ryan K. Bowman from Sportskeeda Wrestling, he just made chief editor over there, I think.
Yeah, well, congrats to Ryan Bowman.
Yeah, he said he's been wanting to do a story on Tessa because he says that because he has really close ties with Ross Foreman and the people over at Impact Wrestling. So he got to be around Tessa a lot. Yeah. And he said every single time that he ever talked to her, she was always professional, always sweet. And he could never, ever see her saying stuff like that or being racist. So he was going to do a piece defending her. And he said he still plans on writing it.
Now, I'm not taking sides here, but certainly, someone like Tessa Blanchard, I mean, obviously it could be certainly possible that, she'll treat a guy like Ryan Bowman, who's not directly involved in their organization, differently than someone who is directly involved in their organization. But would love to see a piece from Ryan Bowman on that, defending Tessa Blanchard, to see what kind of reaction that would get and see if that would maybe change some minds. But certainly it's this was all announced I think yesterday, so this is starting to really come out there and make the waves in the wrestling community. So very exciting to see the Women of Wrestling brand relaunch, though, regardless.
Yeah, about 2 years ago, we had interviewed a whole bunch of wrestlers from Women of Wrestling, and one of the best interviews that we had was with Steffi Slays, and you can go on our YouTube page and you can listen to that interview. She killed it. She was awesome.
Yes, she was, definitely. So, but yeah, anything else on the Women of Wrestling relaunch?
No, I'm excited, dude. Like, their last product was really, really good. And we actually got to talk with David McLean, too. And he was the guy who made Glow back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So he knows a lot about women's wrestling. And to see that he's got Jeannie Buss with him now, the owner of the Lakers, by God, I mean, money for eons to be pumped into the company. So I think it's going to be really big. And now you got a big broadcasting partner like CBS.
Yeah. Man,
the sky's the limit for WOW.
Yeah, and then of course you got AJ Lee as an executive producer. So you got the money, you got the AJ Lee there, you got the star power with Tessa Blanchard, regardless of your opinion of her, and you got the CBS affiliate going for you. So it seems like they're going in the right direction here. So I'll be curious to see, based off of that foundation they're building here, how they can go on from here.
I know she changed her name in NXT. And I can't remember what it is, but I sure hope that NXT release Santana Garrett, and the first match that they have to kick off the new show is a surprise from Santana Garrett. I mean, just kicking the crap out of Tessa Blanchard. That would be amazing.
Yeah, you never know. You have to tune in to find out, I guess. I'm not sure when this is going to go on television or when it's going to start yet. We'll have to keep you guys updated on that. But if you don't have anything else on Women of Wrestling relaunch, we got Rumor Mill now.
Aha, let me pull it up here.
Yeah, go ahead and pull. We got a handful of things here on Rumor Mill this evening.
All right. Unc Dave noted that despite recent rumors that AEW EVPs have lost their power, I was hearing a lot about that the past few weeks too, that Tony Khan took over everything, and he said, and we talked about that maybe 2 weeks ago on the podcast.
We did.
But Unc Dave says the roles of the higher-ups in the company have remained the same dating back to 2019. So apparently they still have quite a bit of say.
Well, I think, and I kind of read something about this. Apparently, I mean, I think they still do have a little bit of say, but obviously Tony Khan has the final say. But I think what had happened was back in late 2019, there was just so many guys getting their input put in, and Tony was kind of like, all right, let's slow our roll here. Like, I'm at the end of the day, I'm the one that's going to make the final decision. So I think it was a matter of there was just too many perspectives, too many voices, and so I think Tony Khan had to kind of make the decisions like, look, I'll take your input, but at the end of the day, we're going to do what I want to do because I'm running the show here. So apparently it's been like that longer than we thought.
He probably laid his snake on the table and he said, my money, my company, my decisions.
Yeah, that's probably exactly. I could imagine it going out just like that. Yeah. But yeah, so go ahead.
I think Tony's been doing an amazing job. And when he first came out, teaming up with these guys, I thought they were just going to railroad him and they were just going to run him into the ground and it would be a failed company. But even though he doesn't look like it, apparently Tony's got a big old backbone, kind of Vince McMahon style, and he gave these dudes some culture shock.
Yeah, and I mean, he kind of, I think obviously at first they probably had their little honeymoon phase of the company, but now it's for real. They're doing big things, and Tony's got to put his foot down when he's got to put his foot down, and I'm sure he doesn't want to do that, but I'm sure the guys respect him a lot more for it when he's got to put his foot down for whatever reason.
According to PW Insider, WWE considered splitting up the Street Profits in this year's draft. Montez Ford would have gone to Raw while Angelo Dawkins would have remained in SmackDown. Instead, they split up T-Bar and Mace.
That's splitting up the Street Profits would be a horrible idea. I mean, they're a very entertaining tag team as far as I'm concerned. They might be the most entertaining tag team out there behind the New Day, and they might even be on the same level as the New Day as far as I'm concerned. Breaking them up would have been stupid. Breaking up the guys that initially made Retribution, yeah, I'm fine with that because they screwed that up royally.
Ringside News claims Braun Strowman's representation reached out and that they've had talks with WWE since his release and his future plans will be announced soon.
Well, certainly I wouldn't rule out a return to WWE. I feel like Braun is very, obviously WWE made him, so he's probably very grateful to WWE and definitely, if he comes back, he can definitely make big waves here because I just don't think he would fit well with AEW. I feel like WWE is the place for him. I feel like that's where he's going to thrive the best, and I would not mind seeing him back in WWE because apparently I was reading that apparently when he got released, it put him in a bad place, I guess, mentally. So definitely would love to see Braun Strowman back in the WWE sooner than later.
You think they pay him the same type of money when he comes back?
Probably so. Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, certainly because they know what he's worth. So if I'm Braun, I'm saying, hey, look, if y'all pay me anything less, screw y'all. I'm out of here. Like,
because that would be crazy. They drop you because of quote unquote financial reasons, and then they bring you back. You're making the same amount of money.
Well, they dropped a ton of people due to financial reasons. So, if anything, at the very least, they can pay Braun what they were paying him beforehand, and maybe even pay him a little bit more with all the other cuts they made. So,
Ringside News also says that while NXT and Raw will be using more profanity on TV, that won't be the case for SmackDown. Do you think this is because AEW is starting to use more profanity?
Possibly, yeah. Also, obviously, it's because you could probably get away with a little more profanity on USA versus Fox, because Fox is a network. Obviously, you can't really get away with much on there, but you can get away with a little bit more on a USA network. So, it may have had a little bit to do, but I think they obviously, 21 years ago or whenever the Attitude Era, the WWE made a killing off of edgier content. And I think that's what they're trying to do with NXT. Maybe do a little bit of edgier content. Obviously, if you saw the Indy Hartwell, Dexter Lumis honeymoon thing, they're already starting to kind of do that a little bit, but. definitely, you know, and if you're going to do it on one of the main shows, you got to do it on Raw because you're on USA Network, and that's cable television, which, you know, is something we pay for. So you actually can cuss a little more on there because it's not free television. So, yeah, definitely. I don't know if it's because of AEW, but certainly they need to add a little bit of edgierness, if that's a real word, to their product, because it's I know they target kids, but certainly you know, you got to throw a little cussing in there every now and again.
Speaking of cussing in NXT, did you see Braun Breaker's latest promo?
I did not. No.
Man, you got to go to WWE's YouTube page and check it out. He sounds just like his Uncle Scott. Just like him, bro.
I don't think I've heard him cut a promo yet.
Somebody had said the other day, I can't wait for Braun Breaker to do his 33 and the third chance winning.
That Steiner math on him, yep.
It was really good. He was like, why don't you bitches find a pair of balls and come in here and fight? And it was like him and Tommaso Ciampa in the ring.
Yep.
And on the outside, it was Pete Dunne and somebody else.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was really good. All right. Finally, Ringside News notes that WWE has big plans for Austin Theory on Monday Night Raw.
I'm trying to remember if Austin Theory, I think he was on Raw before, maybe? I don't know. Austin Theory has gotten lost in the shuffle a couple of times, but hey, look, and I you know, he's a young up and coming guy, and hopefully they don't drop the ball with him. It seems like he's got potential, so hopefully they don't drop the ball on him like they've had numerous times.
Yeah, but you're going to call up Austin Theory before you call up LA freaking Knight?
Well, they might want to build up LA Knight in NXT and then, you know, really have him debut on the main roster at some point, make a huge splash on the main roster.
LA Knight was ready when he came into the company. I mean, he had been heavyweight champion over at Impact Wrestling. He was in the run-in NWA. This guy was ready. He's great on the mic. He's got a great body. He's getting old, so it's time to use him now. You can't just waste him away in NXT. And LA freaking Knight would cash you freaking checks.
Yeah, and a lot of people were thinking he might have got drafted because there were some NXT people that got drafted to the main roster, but LA Knight was not one of them.
Which brings me to another thing that I have some heat with. I cannot believe for the life of me that Gable Stevenson is going straight to Raw.
Well, he's an Olympic gold medalist, bro.
Yeah, but obviously he's not ready.
Well, he may not be.
I mean, even Kurt Angle was in developmental for like 2 years.
Yeah, but back then, of course,
this guy has never professional wrestled in his life.
Yeah, and I don't know what they're going to be doing with him because I think he's still technically enrolled at the University of Minnesota. And I think he's with WWE under like an NIL deal, so I don't even know if they're going to actually have him wrestle all that often or what they're going to even do with him, you know?
I don't know, but when I saw that, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I kind of expected it, though, so we'll see what they do with him.
You know, with AEW, they got to make the splash wherever they can these days.
Yeah, you're right, and having an Olympic gold medalist is one way to do that.
All right, well, that's a show, Patrick.
All right, man. Yeah, well, it wasn't the smoothest of shows because we're doing it different tonight than we've ever done it. But we'll work out the kinks and bring you another good episode next week. I think next week we're gonna have to do it probably on Tuesday because I'm getting a tooth pulled next Wednesday. So we'll probably do it on Tuesday of next week.
Okay, sounds good to me.
So expect another show next Tuesday, guys. That would be on the 12th. Yes, Tuesday, October the 12th. We'll bring you another episode of the AMP Wrestling Podcast.
And as always, if you can't catch it live on a Tuesday, remember it's always going to be posted Friday on your favorite podcasting platform, iHeart, Spotify, Apple, Google, Castbox, and the list goes on. All those podcatchers too.
Yes, sir.
All right, find us on your favorite social media platform. Give us a like. Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Just search AMP Wrestling Podcast. All right, Patrick, get us out of here, son.
Outro.
You've been listening to the Average Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast with David Boston and Patrick Fry. All opinions discussed in the show are those of Average Marks and do not represent any wrestling company, organization, or individual. This has been a Lake Area Media, LLC production.